Video, and mainly short-form video, is currently the best way to showcase your work and what you love to do. You manage to film some clips and then you realize that you have to do some editing, which can seem really overwhelming, complicated and expensive. Well, no more, because today I'm gonna show you a very fun and easy to use desktop software called Capcut. I'm Henry, a digital content creator with a passion for video editing. Throughout my career, I've been working with clients, but also creating my own content for a variety of platforms, such as YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And in this course, I'm going to be teaching you from zero everything you need to know about video editing, and especially about Capcut, so that you can get up and running with your videos as soon as possible. And I'm pretty sure you're going to be looking at the editing process in a much more relaxed way after this course. For some time now, Capcut has been one of the best editing apps on the smartphone, but on the desktop version, you get some extra bonus like using a larger screen so you can see perfectly well what you're doing, managing files, processing power. If you're on a desktop or a notebook, Windows or Mac, it will work the same. In the upcoming lessons, we're going to be covering a range of topics, from how to import, trim, and organize your timeline, up to adding effects, transitions, text, automatic captions, all of this. But especially how to make your videos stand out. By the end of the course, you're going to be able to create professional-looking videos that are sure to grab your audience's attention. So if you're ready to take your social media game to the next level, join me in the next lesson and let's have some fun with Capcut. I'm very happy you decided to watch this class, and to begin with, we're going to discuss your class project. The idea here is that to really learn, you shouldn't just watch me doing something, but you should do it yourself also. So throughout the class, each lesson is going to teach you a different set of skills, and for each one of them, I'm going to choose the best kind of footage to showcase the feature that I want you to see. So to learn alongside me, you can download all the footage we are going to use in the resources section. And by learning how these features work, it's going to be all about your creativity to mix them and create your own videos. And in one of the last lessons, I'm gonna edit a video from start to finish. And your project can be to either recreate that video, to put in practice everything that you've learned, or if you're feeling extra confident, to simply create your own video and upload it to the projects panel. You can put it on Google Drive, Dropbox, and just share the link, or on YouTube, for example, and leave it as unlisted, so that only us with the link can actually see and comment on your videos. And let me repeat this because it's very important. Watching the class is a huge step, but actually putting it into practice is going to be a much bigger one. So watch it, but try it. And in the next lesson, we're going to be talking about how to install Capcut and the basic settings you gotta do to begin editing. Alright, so let's start installing Capcut, and you can go to capcut.com, or you can also find it in the Microsoft Store or the Apple Store. It is completely free to download, and unless you use some of the pro features that are inside the app, you don't have to pay anything to export the videos. By the way, as I said before, there are three different versions. There's the smartphone, the web version, and the desktop version. They're all very similar with minor feature differences between each one of them, but mainly with the smartphone version, you're going to be stuck with a smaller screen. The web version, you're going to have to upload all your clips to the cloud, and the desktop version just seems to me that it's the easiest and fastest one to get your videos edited. Okay, so once you get it installed, you can just open Capcut using the icon, and when you open it, you're going to be greeted by this home screen where you're going to be able to see all your past projects. If you just installed it, it's going to be empty, and you can create a user so that it's connected with your TikTok account if you want to post directly there. Also now Capcut is implementing this cloud service in which you're going to be able to share projects between your smartphone and your desktop if you'd like. But first, let's go to the settings up here. So we're just going to click on this gear icon and go to settings. And here there are some things that you want to change before you even begin editing something to make everything faster and easier for you. So first of all, where it's going to save automatically the draft of your projects. So you can choose a home folder for that. Cache files are going to make scrubbing to your timeline and everything a little bit faster, but it can accumulate a lot of data. So if you don't have that much space on your computer, you can put it to auto-delete this cache after some days, and also you can see how much cache you're using right now, and you can just clear it if you need to. Okay, let's see edit, and here we have image duration, meaning that when you throw a picture inside of your timeline, how long is it going to be? So right now it's set for the default, which is 5 seconds. Frame rate is important because it depends on how you're recording your clips. You can check in your camera or your phone settings to see how you've been recording, but generally in the US you would use 30 frames per second, and in Europe 25 due to some standards. So in my case, for example, I'm going to change to 25. Timecode, you don't need to change anything, let's go to performance. Now these three first options should be on to make it a little bit faster, but if you find any problems in exporting the project later on, these also might be the cause. So just keep it in mind, but leave it on for now. Now proxy mode is very important for those that use slower or older computers. This is going to create a lower resolution file for every clip you import into Capcut. So it's going to take some time processing that in the beginning, but later on it's going to make your editing so much more fluid and easier. So if you're already thinking, oh, this is my case, click this one. Okay, let's save this and let's create a new project. Okay, so here we got the main interface of Capcut and it looks a little bit empty for now, so I'll just import one video to make it easier to understand each part of it. And to import a video, you can just click import and then find the folder that you want, or you can simply open the folder, drag and drop it over here, and it's already going to show you the video. So up here on the left, we have the main panel with the menus and what you've got imported. So first, local, we have all the files that we've imported already, so in this case, only this drone file. And on library, you have everything that Capcut offers you already automatically inside the app. For the audio panel, we have music, sound effects, text. You're gonna find many different types of templates and everything for you to use in your videos, including the captions, stickers to spice up your editing, many different effects that you can use in your videos, and Capcut is quite famous with these. Transitions for you to go from one scene to the other without simply cutting. Filters are gonna change the look of your videos, and on adjustment you can do it also, but in a more manual way. In the meantime, here in the middle you have the preview panel where you're gonna see the video that you selected up here on the left. And you can also drag these lines to make everything bigger or smaller, so you can adjust the screen the way you want it. And simply you're gonna see that there's a counter here showing the timer for the video clip that is going on, how long it is. And here on the bottom right, you're gonna be able to see the zoom function so that you can just zoom in and out to see the video clip from a little bit closer by. And you're gonna be able to see it full screen if you want to. You can just press ask to come back. And your scene ratio right now is grayed out because we didn't throw this in the timeline yet, but we're gonna do it in 1 second. And here up on the right, you're gonna just be able to see the settings that we did before. So just to control if your main settings are exactly the way that you want them. And down here we have the timeline that we are only actually gonna be able to see the options when we drag and drop our first clip into there. So I'll just click here, drag it over here and drop it, and now we have our first video in the timeline. So the preview right now is actually showing what we've got over here. So now you can see that some things changed already in the interface because we have a little bit more control over what's going on. And since I have this clip clicked, now we can go back first to the preview panel where some options are now available that weren't before. First of all, I'm gonna click here on the zoom and I'm just going to take it out a little bit so that you can see that when I have it clicked, now we have these balls all around that are gonna allow me to actually manipulate the video directly from here. Another option available now is the ratio that wasn't before. And this is just what shape is gonna be your video. So if you're creating stuff for social media, for example, and it has to be vertical, you can just come up here and choose 9:16, for example. If you're doing things for YouTube and horizontal, you can choose 16:9. Let me just click here 9:16, for example, and you can see the interface immediately changed and now the video is centered over there. I'm gonna go back to the original so that it's a little bit easier for you to see. And now one trick that can be very important for you is coming up here and there are these very small 3 little bars. You can click on it and you're gonna have some options like oscilloscope. We're not gonna use this for now, but preview quality can be very important. There's performance priority or quality priority. And this is gonna change how your video looks in the preview panel. If you wanna see it with the maximum quality, you can choose quality priority. But if you feel that the computer is going a little bit slower and you're not being able to see the video in real time, you can choose performance priority and probably it's gonna help a lot. And also we're gonna have down here export still frame, which is gonna allow you to export a JPEG file, a picture, from what you're seeing on the screen right now. That can be useful for creating thumbnails, for example. And now here on the right, having the clip selected, we have all of the options of things that we can do with this video, like changing where the video is, opacity, how it looks, how fast it is. If you want to add any kind of animation, we can do it from here also, and do all sorts of color adjustments to that clip. So mostly everything we can do with this clip is going to be up there. And down here on the timeline, we're going to have some buttons here on the left, which actually are going to reflect some of the things we find in the inspector. And here on the right, we have some other options that are more specifically to the timeline handling itself, which is exactly what we're going to talk about in the next class. In this lesson, we're going to talk a little bit about the timeline, which is mostly where you're going to set up how your video is going to look like. The timeline is where you're going to place all of your media, meaning videos, audio, effects, text, everything. And it works the same way as it would if you're placing all of these in the physical world properly on a table. So if you place a photo on the table, but you place another one on top, you're only going to be able to see the one that is on top because it's covering the one that is below. And it works the same way here. Let me show you. I'm gonna do the same that I did before, just dragging and dropping a new file over here. And now we have this other drawn clip. Okay, so let's throw this video here on the timeline and you're gonna be able to see that we have this white cursor, which indicates where in time we are. Here we have the numbers from 0 and forward, meaning the time on this timeline. So if we just press play, we bring it here and we press spacebar to play, you're gonna be able to see that it's going forward because it's playing the video. When I zoom out, you're gonna be able to see here in the preview panel what's going on. And you can see that there's only this video over here. The other one begins right at this mark. So if we just play from here, you're gonna be able to see that it's playing the video below and suddenly it gets covered by the one that is above. And that's exactly how it's gonna work. Whenever you stack stuff on top of each other, you're gonna be able to see what's on top. Okay, so I showed you how to drag and drop these videos onto the timeline, but what if you don't want the whole video to be in there? Now there are two different options. The first one is that you can cut it before importing or after importing. After importing means that you have the whole video over here, and when you go with the mouse closer by, you're going to be able to see that it changes. The cursor just changes to this double-sided arrow, and you can drag and drop it to the left or to the right, meaning you're going to be able to expand or make it smaller. So let's say I wanted it to start about here, after that shadow on the lower part. Okay, so we can just do that. And now it goes back to showing me the timeline itself. So this part is not being covered anymore by that video. But I can still drag it and drop it to whatever place I want around here. So one other way of doing it is clicking up here in the media panel in the video that you want to insert and getting these handles here, exactly the way that you did on the timeline itself, and throwing it to the right or to the left to find the in point and the out point, where you want it to end. So let's say you just wanted this small piece that now is surrounded by this blue box. You can now drag and drop it on the timeline, and you're going to be able to see that it's much smaller than the original one, meaning that it only took that small piece. Or you can just click this plus button and it's going to add to track at the beginning. And then you can put it wherever you want it. And now one cool thing is that you can actually see up here which of these clips have you already added to the timeline so that you don't use it again by mistake, and which ones you've used it but using a cropped version, a cut version. So if this, you can be aware if you're using a clip for a second time, or if there's maybe a part of a clip that you haven't used yet, so you can still check for another piece and use it in other part of the video. Now here on the right, you're gonna have some specific timeline settings and a couple of options more. So let's go one by one. The first ones that I want to show you, and you're going to notice immediately, is that there's a recording button over here, which actually is going to open this recording panel so that you can do voiceovers directly inside Capcut. You don't need to record it anywhere else and then import it here. You can just do it directly inside the software. So easy. And another one you're probably going to use all the time, which is this magnifying tool over here. Let me show you zoomed out how you're going to see it. And it just means that the more you go to the right, the zoomed in you're going to be in the timeline itself, so that you can change things with a lot of precision. Or if you want to have a bird's eye view of what's going on, you can just throw it to the left and see the whole timeline with all the clips. Now we have the main track magnet, the auto snapping, the linkage between video and audio, and the preview access. So the main track magnet means that whenever you grab something from the main track over here, meaning the first one, it's just gonna drag everything all together, and when you let it go, it's just gonna snap back to the beginning. So it won't let you have a gap right at the start by mistake. That can be very useful, but if you wanna have a little bit more control, you can turn it off, and now you're gonna be able to drag everything and just place it wherever you want, and then you can just insert whatever you prefer in the beginning. By the way, these ones are important for you to know because they're easily disabled or enabled through shortcuts on the keyboard. So maybe you're gonna see that something changes on the timeline, the behavior just changed and you don't know what it is. You can check because it's probably gonna be one of these. And the preview access is the one that enables you to just scroll the mouse over the timeline and immediately see on the preview panel what's going on. If your computer can handle it, it can be very practical because you immediately see where you're at in the video. But if you don't like it or it's just slowing you down, you can disable it. And now when you go with the mouse over the timeline, you won't see anything. You're gonna have to drag the playhead alongside with the cursor, click and drag to be able to see on the preview panel where you are on the timeline and what you can see at that point. And clicking one of the clips here on the timeline, you see that also there are some options now here on the left. And these are things that mostly you can do also on the upper right panel, but you can have them here more accessible also through shortcuts. So you can see there we have all these select, split and select leftwards and rightwards. So you can just grab one of these, like for example the split, and just cut a video in two, then go back to select, and now you see that we have two different videos separated that we can just drag and drop separately. Or you can use the shortcut that we just saw there, B, so that it changes the cursor, and now you can cut the video as much as you want, and A to come back to the original one, and now you can just select them, drop them, and do whatever you want. If you use select leftward, you're going to be able to select everything that is to the left of where you click on the timeline. In this case here, everything that is in this direction. And if you select everything rightward, you're going to be able to select everything that is to the right of that one, including all these layers here. When you're very comfortable with these tools, using the shortcuts is going to make everything much faster. Later on, we're going to talk a little bit more about them. And here we have some other options, like split, which is just going to split the selected clip in two, where the playhead is. Delete or backspace is going to eliminate that clip that is selected. So now I have to click a new one to see the options again. Now freeze is a very interesting option because sometimes you just want to pause the video for a second and see an image for a little bit longer. So let me zoom out here a little bit. And you can see that here we just have the drone going forward. But let's say I just wanted to stop in this image here for 5 seconds to show something on screen, like text, for example. I can just click the clip, click on freeze, and it's going to create a 3 seconds freeze frame where it is. And then right after, we have the clip continuing from where it stopped normally with the movement. Other cool options we're going to find over here are the reverse. So it's just going to grab a clip like this, for example, in which the drone is going forward. You can click the clip over here and then click on reverse. It's going to do its thing and it's just going to reverse this clip backwards. So now if we play this one, it's actually going backwards. There's also the mirror option, in which it's just going to mirror the video around. You can do the way you prefer. And as I said before, you can access all of these up here on the right also and have a little bit more control. And the last option we got over here is the cropping. So you can just click crop, it's going to open this new window, and now you can just select how much of this video you actually want to show on screen. So let's say you just wanted this portion over here of the video, you can just click confirm, and now you see that you can just see that part that you cropped before. And last but not least, let me just show you something that is very cool about the timeline in Capcut by adding some other items here like stickers, text, effects, or maybe a filter. Let me zoom here on the left of the timeline for you to be able to see very clearly what's going on. So Capcut organizes everything automatically for you. So you have all the layers, and it doesn't allow you for you to have video and other effects, text, or things in the same line. So all of these are going to be videos. This is a layer just for text. This one is a layer just for stickers, and this one for filters. And you can also lock them, meaning that you cannot move these around anymore, so that's going to be in place. And you can also hide them by clicking this eye icon over here. And in the ones that have audio, you can also mute it by clicking this icon over here. Differently from other editors, Capcut tries to keep video and audio together. So if you import a clip that has audio, like this one for example, you're going to be able to see that actually the audio is down here. It's this small line below the preview of the video. So if I just try to drag it up or down, you're going to be able to see that I'm playing with the volume of the audio. But it makes it a little bit difficult to control this way. So one thing you can do is right click and go to separate audio. And now you're going to be able to see that there's a layer with the audio symbol down here, and this is the audio of that video over there, for which you also have the control of blocking or muting if you'd like. Now to select things on the timeline, you can either click on them individually, or you can drag and create a rectangle around everything that you want to select. And now they're all going to move together. And actually, if this is exactly the way you wanted it to be, you could click with the right mouse button and come up to group. And this is going to create a group amongst all of these. So now if you click any of them, you're actually going to be selecting all of them at the same time, so that you don't have to repeat the same action 1 million times by dragging, selecting all of them together, and then moving it around. Now one click is enough and you can drag all of it wherever you want. So in this lesson, you learned everything you need to know to navigate the timeline with any kind of object you want to place in there. Editing later on is going to be all about stacking things in the timeline to show whatever you want and moving them around the way you just learned. Now we're ready to move on to the next lesson, which we're going to talk about all the parameters we can change for one video clip. This includes some basic things like positioning and zooming on the videos, but also some truly insane ones that Capcut offers, especially for being a free software. See you there. this lesson, we're going to see how can we manipulate video in many different ways. Let's take a look. As you can see, I imported many other videos around here, and you're going to find them all in the resources section of this class. To show you the first steps about how to manipulate video, I'm just going to grab one talking head video like this. I'm going to select a small portion, we don't need a lot of it, and I'm going to add it to the timeline. Okay, so we have it here now, and as you can see, it was filmed horizontally, but it was meant to be a vertical video. So let's zoom in so we can see the whole preview here. And as you noticed, I changed this to 9:16 so that it's already in vertical format. So first thing, obviously, let's rotate this video. Everything you want to do, you want to click first on the clip over here on the timeline, and then it's going to be selected on the preview. You can see already the handles all around it for you to manipulate it manually properly. And also here on the right, you're going to be able to find all of the things that you can do with it. And mainly this first portion here can be done by dialing a number. So for example, let's say rotate, and you want to rotate 90 degrees. It's going to rotate it clockwise 90 degrees. You can use this dial over here to do it manually like this, or you can do it on the preview panel properly and just go rotating, and you're going to be able to see how many degrees you're rotating on the top. But anyways, not to go crazy with it, you could just go 90 if it was turned to one side, or you can also use negative numbers here. So you could do minus 90 and it would go to the right way. Scale can be changed by the percentage over here, or you can also change it using the handle over here. But what I would recommend you is to use the handles here in the preview panel, because they snap to the angles, so you can know exactly when it's big enough to cover the whole screen. And that's how easy it is to manipulate video over here. Now, to take it one extra step, you could maybe want to animate this. And this takes us to the concept of keyframes. It's basically telling the software at a certain point in time what are going to be the parameters, and then telling in another point in time what are the parameters you want there. So for example, let's say we want to zoom in on this image very slowly, and in this point here we want it exactly as it is. So you can come up here to the right, and you're going to be able to notice that there are these diamond shapes over here, and these are the keyframe setters. As you can see, you can do it for scale, position, rotation, all of these. As an example, let's do it just for the scale right now. So I'll add a keyframe right here, and I will know that this point is marked. So let's go forward a little bit, let's say maybe up to here, and let's set another keyframe by clicking on the same logo. Add keyframe, okay. And now let's say that we want it to be zoomed in about here. And what the software is going to be is going to understand that you want to go from point A to point B, and it's just going to make that sequence flow. So for example, now, if you click here on this sign pointing to the left, we're going to go back to the previous keyframe. And now very slowly, you're going to see that it's zooming in, either by the handles here or also by the number on the side here that just keeps increasing. And as I said, you can do it for any of the other parameters like rotation, position, whatever you want. Next up is the blending mode, and this one is more complicated to understand if I don't give you an example. So I'll just import this clip of fire on top here of our footage, and you're gonna see that it just doesn't make any sense. I'll make it a little bit bigger, and now it's covering the whole image we had before. But if we play now with the blending mode, like for example brighten, it's going to keep only the brighter parts of that video clip. And then now you get an effect like this, in which you can still see the layer below, but on top you have the bright parts of the clip we just inserted. And each blending mode here is going to do something a little bit different. You can experiment and see, because for each type of footage the effect is going to be a little bit different. But mainly the ones that I use a lot are screen and overlay, because they keep the brightest part of the images, so you can use something like this, for example, on top of your footage. And you might think, okay, this has no use for me, but probably you saw this being used many times already on social media, especially when you've seen these ones over here. Let me delete the fire, and let's add a little piece of a drone shot over here and change it to original. So now you've got this very cool video layer over here. Then you can come up here to the blending mode and choose darken, for example, and voila. Now you have this old film effect on top of your footage. Still in the blending mode, you're going to find the opacity slider, and this is going to say how transparent this layer is. From 100%, in which you see it completely, and going down, you're going to begin seeing what's exactly below the drone layer, which is my talking head video over here. This can be used if you want to mix two images together. Next up is stabilization, and this is totally crazy inside Capcut. I'm going to show you two different clips. The first one is this, in which you can definitely see that there's some movement because everything is handheld. And if you want to make it a little bit smoother, you just go through stabilize, you click on the clip, you come to stabilize, and you have the choice of doing recommended, minimum cut, or most stable, because the software is going to zoom in and try to compensate for the movement. After you select which one you want, so for example in this one recommended, you're going to be able to see this. It's a little bit of a zoomed in version, but all the movement is very smooth and looks very, very nice. So let's put it to the test and try something a little bit more extreme. This one is a completely handheld moving shot, and every step of the way you can actually feel the camera jumping up and down. And doing the most stable stabilization option inside Capcut, you get this, in which you can still feel the steps, but it's so much better. Now you gotta be a little bit careful about this one because it makes things a little bit wobbly all around. So depending on the footage and depending on how shaky it is, the results are gonna be different. So observe it very well before saying that it's done, but still you can do miracles with this thing. Next up, we have two different options that are available only in the Pro version, but actually you can test them with the free version of Capcut, but when you try to export, it's gonna tell you that it's available only for Pro, so you're gonna have to pay before you can have your final video ready. The first one is noise reduction, and this is meant to reduce a little bit of that noise, especially when you're filming with high ISO at night. And this is quite insane. Check out this clip done right before sunrise, and you can see that from here it doesn't look that bad, but when you go in a little bit, you're gonna be able to see that the sky is full of these dots, which is grain from high ISO. And when you enable noise reduction, it's gonna work on the clip, and you're gonna be able to see it like this, completely clean. You do lose a little bit of definition, but depending on how bad, what's the situation of your clip, you can totally save it. Let me zoom back out. And this might just do a miracle for you. And this last one is called removing video flickers. So if you have any kind of video that just have those lights flickering because of the issue with the shutter speed you're using on the camera or on the smartphone, depending on how bad it is, you might be able to fix it using this option over here. In the previous lessons, you learned how to move around the timeline and how to adjust a video clip exactly the way you want it to be. In the next lessons, you're going to see more advanced video properties that look very complicated to do, so they add a lot of value to your video, but they're actually quite simple. See you there. Let's see some advanced video properties here right now. Let's begin with the cutout effect. And there are basically two different ways of doing it inside Capcut. The first one is the auto cutout, in which Capcut just tries to understand the borders of what's the main subject of that clip and cuts all the rest. And the second type is the chroma key, which is the traditional effect used in cinema and everywhere to cut out a person by using a plain color background, usually green or blue, because they are colors that are usually not present in the human skin, and cutting those colors entirely from the scene, leaving only what's not using them. Let me show you. So first let's try the simplest one, which is the auto cutout, and for that I'm just gonna grab this clip over here. You're gonna find it in the resource center. Let me place it right at the start. And I'm simply gonna click on the clip and I'm gonna come up here to the panel and I'm gonna choose Auto Cutout. And Capcut immediately is gonna try to understand what's the background and what's the subject and cut all the rest. So as you can see, now I can just redimension this clip and place it wherever I want, and it's gonna look like it's been there all the time. You can see that sometimes it doesn't understand exactly what's the subject, because here probably there was a reflection or something that made the background color hit a little bit the shirt, so it's actually not precise. But what you can do in this case is just come up here and drag this down a little bit and just hide the parts that don't work that well. But mainly 99% of the job is done automatically for you. This can be great if you're doing some sort of tutorial or explaining something on a screen like I'm doing here right now, and instead of having all the scenario behind, you can place only yourself on top of the footage. Now the other way to go about it is using the chroma key, and for that I'm gonna use this clip over here of the dog with a green background. And for that, you just come up here and you have to choose chroma key. And in this case, Capcut doesn't do anything automatically. You have to go to the color picker and just choose the background. In this case, I'm gonna choose here the green. And now you come up to the strength slider, and the more you go to the right, the more you eliminate the green from the scene. But if you go too much, you're also gonna take out small portions that have a little bit of a green cast on it. So you have to find the right spot for it. What I recommend is for you to play with the strength until most of the green in the background is gone, like here for example, where you don't see it anywhere around, and then play with the shadow slider to fine tune it a little bit. As you can see that here, for example, on the ear and here, you gain back a little bit of detail that was deleted before. Like this, looks pretty good. So if I zoom out a little bit and I reduce this, It's very hard to tell what's going on. And we can play, and now we have the dog on top of our footage. Now let's see another feature from the video tab, which is called masking. And this is a way that it's a little bit more customizable for you to be able to display one video on top of each other. Let me show you by bringing on the timeline one of these videos in which I'm talking to the camera over here. And it totally covers our drone shot. So let's go over here. Let's just rotate it using this quick button. I'm gonna make it smaller a little bit. And let's pretend that here I'm explaining something about this landscape. I'm just gonna be positioning myself here in this corner and coming up to mask. With the clip selected, you have here now on the masking option many different shapes. And one of them that I think it's very nice for this kind of video is the circle one. So this is gonna create this circle on top of the footage that you can make bigger or smaller as you wish. And mainly this is gonna be like a paper on top of your clip with just a hole. And you're gonna be able to show that clip only through that hole. So now you can readjust it, you can reposition, make it bigger, smaller. And here in the properties, you can also rotate it. In this case, it's round, so it doesn't make any sense. But you can also feather the borders, so you can make it integrate a little bit better with the background video. So let's say you like the way that it is right now. If you just move it around, you're just moving the mask. But if you want to move the video down to have it in the corner, for example, you have to come back to the basic tab and just move the entire video to the corner. And now you have an explainer video on top of the footage you want just by using masks. You could, for example, import another type of video over here. Let's import this one. And as before, now this is totally covering our layer below. Let's go to mask. And I'm gonna use film strip. And now it creates a film strip in which I see this video only in the middle, and I can adjust the height of this bar. And when I play, I can still see also the video below. And you could have film strip, you could have circle, rectangle, you could make it in the shape of a heart or on the shape of a star. You're the director here. Another way that would make a little bit more sense would be the split one. And I'm only going to remind you that if you look here in the corner, you see that we have the diamond shapes over here, which means keyframes. So if you wanted to animate this mask, you could also do that. Another tip is that you can also invert the mask. So in this case here, for example, I applied the mask to this one, and the part that shows is the one on top. But if I wanted it to be the opposite, you can come up to this small button over here and just click reverse, and now it's gonna show the bottom part of that clip and on the upper part what's below. And this works for all the masks. Let's talk a little bit about beauty enhancements, and the artificial intelligence of the software about this is just totally insane. To access this panel, you can come up here and just click on Enhance, and now you have many different options, they're all unmarked. Let's go one by one. On face, you're gonna have many different options like evening out the skin, smoothing the skin, and you can see that it makes a lot of difference. It goes from very plasticky to more natural. So you can find a place in between that you like. You can go brightening the face if it's necessary. Teeth whitening is also insane in this. You can go to the right and just make it totally false, but you can find a spot in between that looks very good. Skin tone is a pro function, but it's also amazing. Let me show you. If you wanted to completely transform the tan of the model, you could just click one of these and they all actually look quite natural. It's incredible. I'm going to leave off, otherwise you cannot export this video. And let's go to facial beauty. And here mainly you're going to be able to change physical dimensions. And this is quite difficult for the software to do because it has to stretch the image around. So you're going to see that in some cases it manages to do a very good job, like making the face thinner a little bit, but you see that it wobbles also the rest, like the hair and the neck, everything changes a little bit. So you have to be very careful with the intensity you're going to use these sliders. Here it changes only the lower, the middle, or the higher part of the face. So if you have a big forehead like me, you could make it a little bit smaller. On makeup, it tries to understand the features of the face and apply a complete makeup, or you can split it by eyelashes, shadow, lipstick. But let's just do one here that is complete makeup, and it can look quite fake, but some of them can look very real, like this one for example. Still, you have the degree slider, in which you can lower the intensity a little bit to make it look a little bit more real. Or you can just bump it up. Let's see, with and without, with and without. Now for the body enhancements, let's bring in this clip over here. On the preview panel, when you zoom in, you can see also this thumbnail over here, so that you can see the part of the image that you want. And now I'll just click on body and we have many different options over here. So for example, we can try legs, and this tries to make them longer a little bit, but also you can see that it's stretching out the whole beach. So if you don't want all of that, you have to be very careful with how strong you use this effect. Most of these are going to work better if you have a very simple background, because like this the software can just stretch the background and you won't even notice the difference. Waist, And there are even some more advanced sliders here, like these ones, for example. Smoothing works very well, and also brightening can be very useful. So now you know how to change all the properties of a video clip. Next up, let's take a look about how to change the speed. But not only how to make it faster or slower, we're gonna learn how to do these highly customizable gradual changes in velocity. In this lesson, we're gonna see two ways of changing speed. The first one is coming up here and clicking on normal. And here you're gonna find the slider for times, which means that right now is 1x, so it's normal speed. And if you throw it up here, it's gonna go up to 100x. So you can make the clip 100 times faster. And below, you're gonna be able to see that the duration that previously was 84 seconds, now is going down to 0.9. So you can actually change the speed based either on how many times you want it to be faster or how long you want it to be. And you can see that in the timeline also, the more I move here the slider, it's already gonna show me how long the clip is gonna be over there. So if originally this was the speed of the footage, if I crank it up, let's say here to 5x, now we're gonna have something that looks more like this. But let's roll back to 1x here. And what I wanna do now is that I want the clip to begin slowly at normal speed, speed up, and then slow down by the end to review the lake. So let's go here to curve. And now you can choose one of these templates in which if the curve is going up, it means a faster speed, and if it's going down, it means to be slower. Or you can choose to do a customized one. So let's click on one of the templates, for example, montage. And if I zoom out and play this, you're gonna be able to see that also you can see it playing over here. And as soon as it reaches the first key point over here, it's gonna start speeding up. And you can see it on the preview panel there. It's gonna reach the maximum, which is set to 10x over here. It slows down, reaches the second point in which it's almost stopping. Then it begins to speed up again. You can see the curve over here. And it's gonna go back to the normal speed. The normal speed being the stronger dashed line. Now here we have to be a little bit careful, because if this footage wasn't shot meant to be in slow motion, slowing down below 1x means that it's gonna be a little bit choppy. As you can see here, you can see that there are these small jumps in the scene that doesn't look very cool. So in this case, we cannot have the speed below 1x. So let's just drag this up here, and you can drag both parts separately and they will snap together. And we'll just keep everything at minimum 1x. Let's put this here, here, and here. Okay, so now we're not going below 1x. So if your footage is like mine here, there's still hope. You can click in this small box over here called Smooth Slow-Mo. And what it's going to do is that it's going to take all the footage that is below 1x speed, and it's actually going to try to create the frames in between to make it look fluid. I applied it, let's see how it looks. And it looks way better than before. Okay, so this is how you edit a template, but let's do it also manually. Let's go here to customize, and here the line is completely flat, you're gonna do it manually. We already have some key points defined over here, so let's use them. Let's say that in the beginning here, we're gonna keep at 1x, then we're gonna speed up. I'm just gonna throw it up here, up to 10x. Let's say that this one here in the middle, I wouldn't care much, so I don't want it. I can come here and I can click the minus button and just delete it. And I can come to the second one, and let's say that I still want the high speed to come up to here. And this is the point in which I want the footage to begin slowing down until it comes back to 1x. So let's see how it looks right now. It begins slowly, speeds up to 10x, passes all the clouds, arrives to the lake, and then starts to slow down. And if you want to change it, for example, if you think that it's slowing down way too late, you can just drag these ones to the left, and it's very easy to drag these because they're already attached, they're snapping to the line. So now you would have it very fast here, and by here it would be already at normal speed. Anyway, this is for a landscape video, but if you're talking about a normal video of a person talking, for example, and you just wanted to speed it up a little bit, and let's say that I just want it to be 5x the speed, and now it's way faster, and you still have one option here, which is the voice tone change. By default, Capcut will not change the voice tone. So come here, let me tell you not one, but if you want the voice to change just like a cartoon, you can just click it here.
So come here, let me tell you not one,
and now you're gonna be able to listen to that very thin voice. Depends on what you wanna do. Okay, that's it about speed. Let's talk a little bit about audio in the next lesson. Audio might just be the most important part of your videos, and although it really depends on you recording it well, there are some things we can do also in post-production inside Capcut to make it better or even cooler. So let's take a look here inside the audio panel. By having one clip selected, I just put one of these talking head videos on the timeline. The audio panel over here offers some basic changes like volume, fade in, fade out, which mean volume, exactly what you would imagine. The lower you go here with the slider, you're gonna see also that here, if you zoom in a lot, you're gonna be able to see the same slider being represented by this white line and also the waveform on the back over here. So if you change here or if you change over here, it's gonna be the same thing, depends on how you prefer to do it. Fade in and fade out are used to make the volume go from 0 to up in the case of the fade in, and fade out from normal volume to 0. And this, in the talking head video, doesn't make that much sense. But if you add a little bit of music on the background, let's say this one for example, let's just add it over here, and let's say you just want it to slowly fade in from 0. You can do it two different ways. The first one is by using the fade in slider here, and it's gonna show you how many seconds it's gonna take for the music to arrive to its normal volume, and also is represented here by this black shadow. So here's gonna be the moment in which the music reaches its normal volume. And as you can see, Capcut created this small black ball over here that is actually the fade in slider, so you can also do it over here. And while you drag it, you can also see how long it's gonna take for the volume to go from 0 to normal. Now below these basic features there is also noise reduction, which can be really useful if you have a lot of noise in the background of your voice, to isolate it a little bit better and be less distracting. And just like the beauty features, you also have the strength slider here, so you can make it a little bit easier on the ears. And just like the beauty features, you also have the strength slider here, so you can make it a little bit easier on the ears. And on voice effect, you can make some crazy stuff, like for example, making me sound like an elf.
Times faster way to do these 5 videos split screen than doing...
Or maybe like a robot.
This or this. Let me show you.
Yeah, kind of depends on what you want to do. And just like the beauty features, you also have the strength slider here, so you can make it a little bit easier on the ears. And last but not least, you have the channels feature, and this can be very useful for those of you using especially dual recorder microphones. Like for example, the Rode Wireless Go 2 or the DJI mics, which are very famous nowadays. These have two different recorders, and each one record to one channel, meaning left or right. So when someone's listening with the headphones, you can only listen what was recorded with one of them on one side and the other on the other side. So if you want to have a normal audio with both recorders sounding simultaneously, you have to come up to here and you can choose feel right with left or left with right depending on where the audio is. If that's not your case, you can just skip this feature, but for those of you that have it, I know that this is a lifesaver. Okay, to round it up, let me show you some things in the timeline that changed when we inserted now a clip with audio. So as you could see before, Capcut keeps the audio here together with the video, but you can also right-click it and you can separate the audio, meaning that now you're gonna have a dedicated track just for the audio that belongs to that video clip. And you can do the same things. You can change the volume, you can also change the fade in and fade out if you want it, all from here. And it's a little bit more accessible because it's just a little bit bigger for you to deal with. But besides this trick, now we have some different buttons that appeared up here on the left, which are different from the options we had before when we had the video clicked. Now we still have the split and the delete functions, but these 3 other ones here are functions in which you're going to be able to detect the beats on a song, for example, or that you can set yourself markers for you to cut the footage. So let me click it here and I'm going to create one beat in this point. And you're going to see that it creates this yellow dot and now the playhead snaps to it. So it makes it very easy for you to just click the video, for example, and split it. And now you can insert something else over here and just keep doing that. But if you don't want to create these points manually, in which here it looks like it's very clear what are the points of highs and lows in the music, you can just click the audio and you can click on AI Auto Beat. And this is what it's going to do. It's just going to choose between beats 1, 2 or melody, let's say beat 1 for example. And it's just going to create automatically all the beats in the song respectful to what it thinks is the beat 1. So let's go here and choose beats 2. And now it's going to create all the secondary beats also. Let's see melody, and now it's going to create also these ones in which it's going to begin to go lower to enter the melody of the song. So now you got the whole audio track marked, ready for you to cut the video the way you want it. And this is very useful, especially for those short videos, in which you have a very fast song and just a sequence of images or videos that alternate. You don't need to have a musical ear anymore, this is just gonna tell you exactly where to cut it. Now, besides the music here in the audio panel, you're also gonna find sound effects. And you can also use the search to find whatever you want. So if you just searched for dog, for example, like we have here right now, and pressed enter, now you're gonna find a bunch of different sound effects related to dog. So all you have to do is add just like we did with the music, and you're gonna find it in a new audio track down here. Another very practical audio function is using the recording button over here. It opens up this dialog panel over here in which you can see the level, you can see what is the device that you're gonna record from. So in this case, I'm just gonna use this headset. You can set the volume, and you can also set options here like echo reduction or mute project. Echo reduction I'm gonna add, and let's just record here a small voiceover. Okay, so let's make a first test. I'm gonna set to record by clicking here, and it's gonna give us 3, 2, 1. Okay, so now you can record your voice and everything is gonna be on a separate track. Okay, it finished. So now you can record your voice and everything is gonna be on a separate track. And that's it, you don't need to record your audio on another device and then import it here. You can do it directly inside the timeline. Okay, so by now you know how to use the software, how to navigate the timeline and change parameters for video and for audio. Next up, we're gonna spice up the editing by using text. Let's talk a little bit about how to add text to your videos, and this can include text on screen, titles, or also captions. I just placed here a drone shot on the timeline, and we have up here on the left the text panel. And here we're gonna have different options. The first one is just default text, and below we're gonna have effects, text templates, and also auto captions. Let's go one by one. If you add text, there's just default text. I can just add it to the track. And as you can see, it just adds it on another layer. And now we have, just like video or audio, we have the panel up here on the right with different properties just for text. And these are pretty much self-explanatory. You can change up here on the right the text itself. So let's just write Capcut, for example. You can change the font. So I'm just gonna choose this one. Style, bold, underlined, italic. There are some pre-made models like these ones that actually look very cool. You can make it wider or a little bit tighter. You can change the scale from here. And these are all keyframeable also. You can add a stroke if you want and change also the color. Add a background, say how big is it going to be. You can put a glow to it. And also some drop shadow if you want, in which you can also change the color. You can set it as apart as you want, and you can also blur the shadow as much as you want. I'm not saying that this looks incredibly beautiful, I just wanted to show you the options you got. Now basically this text panel is going to be the same here if you're inserting just a normal text or if you're editing captions, for example. On bubble up here, you're going to be able to add some background to this text, like it was some sort of anime or something like that. Well, it might make sense depending on what you want to do. And on effects, you're going to find many different templates that go a little bit farther than just editing the text in the other panel we used before. They have some kinds of textures, patterns, many different things that you can see the preview over here. And mainly these are going to be the same ones that you're going to find if you go directly to the effects tab up here on the left. So if you knew already that you wanted to use one of these, you can just choose here and add it to the timeline instead of adding a normal text and then later on choosing inside the panel which is the effect you want to use. Now when you have the text layer selected and you go to animation, you're going to see that there are so many different options to make this text pop in and out. And this is exactly what you're going to be seeing here on the right. There's in, out, and loop. So as the name say, if you choose an effect for in, like for example flipping, I'm just going to go to the first one. It's going to add a different effect just for the beginning of the text. And then it stops. Out is going to be an effect to make it go away. So let's say for example mini zoom, in which it just does a very mini zoom and disappears. Instead, if you go to the loop section, then it's going to be something that is just going to keep happening. So for example, let's choose this one. It's just going to keep looping and looping until the end. And now if we zoom into the mess that we just made, you can see that there are 3 different lines here. So Capcut respects what you choose in the order you choose. So we actually still have the intro that we used, the looped part goes up to here, and here we have the out part. So now it's making this mess of an effect. I hope you have better taste than me. Let's keep tracking for now and go to text to speech. And this one is exactly what it says. It's just going to read everything that you write on screen. So let's make it just a little bit longer. I'm just going to write. So let's pick one of these, like for example, male storyteller.
CapCut is the best editing software.
But it's not ready yet, it was just a preview. You can come up to here and you can click on Start Reading. Now CapCut is really gonna apply it and it's gonna create the audio exactly with that.
CapCut is the best editing software.
That's it. And the cool thing is that now that the audio is created, it's not exactly attached to the text itself. So you can just write whatever you want, even not having a fancy font or something like that. You can delete the text and you still have the audio. So if you wanted to create a narration to the video, like for the drone shot, for example, you could still have it. So if you don't want to put your own voice, you can just choose one of the voices inside CapCut. Now the last part inside the text panel, and one that a lot of people are going to use CapCut just for that, is the auto captions, which is just amazing. Alright, that's all about the basic text editing. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about auto caption generation. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to do automatic captions inside CapCut. It's super easy and highly customizable. Let's check it out. And here you have many language options, from English, Turkish, Romanian to many others. I'm just going to leave it with English. And I put here on the timeline right now a short video that I have that doesn't have subtitles yet. So we're just going to click here on Create. As soon as it finishes, you're going to see now that we have a layer dedicated to the captions over here in the timeline. And you can see that it's all split. If we scroll here through the timeline, we have all the sentences here. It recognized everything. And up here on the panel on the right, if we click one of these, now we have one extra panel, which is called the captions itself. So here you can correct everything that it didn't get right. You can add new lines or you can delete them if you want. Now when editing the captions, there are two ways to go about it. The first one is to come up here, select the line you want, place the cursor and press enter. It's going to create another line of caption for you. And it's going to respect the timing here on the timeline. So you don't need to worry about moving the captions around. CapCut does it all. But if instead you just wanted this to be a two-lined caption, you could press Ctrl Enter. And now you see that you have two lines on that caption. For short video content, it might be a little bit difficult to read two lines of captions, but depends on how fast-paced is the video you're putting out. So I'm just going to break it down a little bit here and let's speed up this process so that you don't have to watch all of it. And as you can see now here in the beginning, I have many different smaller parts, but we can't read this caption really well like this. So let's just click on the first one. And up here we have the same panels that we had before to edit text, but now we're actually editing the caption. So I'm just gonna choose one of those that I think are gonna stand out better on top of this video, like this one for example. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger, change the font, that's about it. And if I have this box here clicked apply to all, it means that all of the subtitles are gonna be affected by these changes that I did. If there's some sort of case in which I want, like for example here, let's say that I don't want the subtitle to be covering these items here on screen. I can just click on this specific caption, unclick, apply to all, and now I can move it around. I can either go to position and size and change it here using the numbers, or by clicking on it, I can actually now move the subtitle around to wherever I feel fit. So maybe I just want to move it a little bit up, not to cover something here on the screen. Now it's in the perfect position and you can see that the previous one is still in the original place. And like this takes just a minute for you to have captions for a whole video. And if by any chance you already had captions prepared by another software, you can also import them here using local captions and just come into the import panel. Alright, now with the captions done, your video can be watched by absolutely anyone. In the next lesson, let's talk a little bit about stickers, effects, transitions to make your video really eye-catching. Let's talk a little bit about stickers, and it's quite simple, but there's a couple of tricks to it that I want to show you. So as always, up here on the left, you want to click on stickers, and now there's the only option you've got down here, and there are many different categories for you to find exactly what you want. Now let's say that, for example, by the end of the video, you want to add one of these subscribe buttons. Immediately, CapCut adds it here where the playhead was, and it's perfectly here by the end of the video. When you look at the preview, you have the same controls as you do with other elements. So you can just move it around as you want. You can change the size by using the handles over here or using the panel over here on the right. You only got scale, position, rotate, very basic features with the stickers. And if I play this here, we just got the subscribe button appearing there, the bell going on, and that's it. Now if I were to change the length of this sticker, I would actually be cutting it in half. So if I just drag it down here, for example, it comes up and it's over. So it's not like it's speeding it up. And there's no way of doing it with the panel or here. So here I'm going to introduce you another thing from the timeline that I hadn't showed before, which is the creation of compound clips. In the timeline, if you just drag the cursor over many different elements, it's going to select all of them together. And now if you right click, you could create a compound clip, which is having all of these mixed into one element only. So if I were to create one like this, for example, it would just put everything together inside this massive clip down here. It's not what I want to do, so let me just Ctrl Z to get back here to how it was before. And now I'm going to create a compound clip just with the sticker itself. So I'm going to do it here. And now when I click on the compound clip, it acts like it was a video. So if I come up to speed, now I have the option of speeding it up a little bit. So if I just make it twice as fast, I can now see that the sticker comes up and it goes all the way until the bell there on the top and it finishes off. So actually now the sticker is being considered a video, and you can change all of the things that you could on a normal video clip by doing the compound clip. And anyways, there are 1 million options inside here for you to choose. Just pay attention, there are many here that are meant just for use with the Pro version. And they are all tagged on the upper left part with Pro written. So just be aware of it, because later on when you're going to export the video, it might tell you that you use some sort of Pro feature, and it's going to be difficult a little bit to find what it is because of these small stickers along the way. That was it about stickers. Let's talk about effects and transitions. If you wanted to make your videos stand out, this is the perfect lesson to learn how to do it with effects and transitions. They work a little bit differently on the timeline. I'm going to show you here. So let's begin with the effects. And here, for example, let's say that in the beginning of this short video, I want to have some sort of effect to really call attention of people right from the start. So if you come up here to the effects tab, you're going to see that it's all categorized, like tags, like many other things. They have different categories here for you to search from. And there are two main ones, video effects and body effects. Let's start with video effects. But for now, let's just choose one of these here, like for example, the negative graffiti. And the moment that you click on one of these, you're already going to be able to see a preview on the preview panel over here. So if you like it, you can just click on the add button and it's going to add as a layer on top of it. So everything that is below is going to be affected by this. This means that if you want to make it shorter, you could just grab it and make it finish over here. Or if you just want it to last for the whole video, you could just make that also. And then you're just gonna have this overlay all the time in the video. But see how this video now really pops when you begin with this zoom transition that I had already before, and then suddenly this pops in, and then we begin to show the drone. If they say that you really need to call attention in the first 3 seconds, I don't see how people are gonna scroll past this one. So these were the video effects, but below that we have also the body effects, and these are ones in which the intelligence of the software understands where your face is or where your body is, and make some effects that interact with it. Like for example, this one here with the eyes. And it's the same. If you click over here on the list, you're gonna be able to see the preview on the preview panel. And some are just amazing how the software manages to track your head or your face and just keep the effect going on indefinitely. And some also can be quite funny, like this one. Anyways, the moment you're ready to add any of these, it's gonna be just like the other one we added. It's gonna be a new layer on top here, and it's gonna be applied to the video as long as this layer is on top of the video you want to affect. Enough with the effects, let's talk a little bit about transitions. And these are a little bit different because they're not going to be layers on top of the videos you already have. So here, for example, I split the video in 2 different parts, here and here. Having the playhead at this position, and if I come here to the transitions tab and just choose one of these trending ones, like the pull-in, for example, I'll just click on add to track. And now you can see that it added this symbol right in between the 2 clips. This shows that there is a transition over here, and I can also change how long is it going to take. So let's make it a little bit smaller and let's see a preview. But there's also the mini 3. That's a very cool way to transition from the drone shot to my talking head video. And in this case, I would leave it as fast as it is. But just for us to see it, let me make it a little bit longer and let's see how it looks like. DJ, I just released the mini 3, but there's also the mini 3. So it makes the zoom a little bit slower and the fade a little bit more subtle. It kind of depends on the effect that you want for your video. You can also change the duration up here on the right, and while having it selected, you can also delete if you wanted. I'm just going to Ctrl Z to have it back. And if you want to change to another type of transition, you can just have it selected, click on the new one that you want to apply, and click on plus. And now, if you play it, you're gonna see that there's a new transition there in place. It looks like it didn't change anything because it's in the same position and it kept the same length, but now it's the new one that it chose. And actually both of them are very cool, and you're gonna find many other very interesting ones over all these categories here. They always change the ones that are on the trending page. So now you know how to edit video, audio, adding text, transitions, effects, all of it. So before we edit a video together from scratch, let's take a look at one bonus lesson about colors. Depending on how you recorded your videos, you might need this step to make your videos really pop. See you there! As you saw until now, the post-production is mainly based on stacking together the videos, the audios, and all the effects that you want in the final video. But it might be necessary also to do some color correction or grading. And this depends if the way you recorded asks really for it, or if you just want to be more creative about it. Either way, let's take a look on Capcut on how to do it. So we have two different clips here on the timeline. One is a normal camera shot and the other one is a drone shot. The easiest and fastest way to make them pop inside Capcut is just going to the filters panel over here, and you're gonna have a bunch of different filters here that are gonna change how the video looks. Same as always, it's enough for you to click on one of these to see the preview on the preview panel. The thumbnails kinda give you a rough idea of how they're gonna look like in the end. And same as always, pay a lot of attention for these that have the Pro tag on top of them, otherwise you can't export the video later unless you pay for it. Now to use one of these, it's enough to click Add to Track and it's gonna add here on the timeline, and you can drag it for as long as you want. Up here in the parameters, now you have the strength slider, so you can make it a little bit more subtle or stronger as you wish. One other thing to pay attention to, and I'm gonna add this other filter here as an example, is that depending on the way you shot your footage, some of these filters can be quite aggressive and they can actually destroy your image. This one, for example, changes so much the colors of the sky that we don't have enough info on the footage to make this a real gradient. So you can actually see the separation of the colors over here, which doesn't look cool at all. So just be aware of this, because adding some of the filters instead of making the footage look very cool, it can totally destroy the image. Now, instead of a filter, if you want to do everything manually, you can just click on the clip and come up here to adjustment, and you're gonna have many different panels over here. And this could be totally a complete class on itself. So let's take a look at the basic features for you to make your image look very good without having to go way too deep. Now, inside the basic panel, the first thing you're gonna find is the auto adjust, and this is just going to change the colors of the clip to make it pop a little bit, but it's a pro function, so be aware of it. Below, we got the HDR conversion tool, and also this depends on how you shot the footage. In this case, I did shoot it with an HDR profile, and Capcut is recognizing and it's converting it already for me. This is how it would look without the conversion, and this is after the conversion. A LUT or lookup table is gonna act exactly like a filter. And if I click on the list, you're gonna see that I have only one over here that I loaded myself. Capcut calls its LUTs the filters, so you're gonna find them all over here. If you wanna load your own, if you have a pack of LUTs that you downloaded from somewhere, you can come up to adjustment here on the left, LUT, and you can simply import it from wherever you have your LUTs. They're gonna show up here, and you can also add them over here. Now the adjustment panel down here is just like editing a photo. You're gonna have all the controls for brightness, contrast. You can affect only the highlights or the shadows. And this is gonna be the color correction of the footage, making the saturation and the colors and the contrast look right. Now if you wanna be a little bit more creative, you can proceed on to the next tab, which is the HSL, Hue, Saturation and Luminance. And here you're gonna have control over each color independently. So let's pick the orange that is very strong in this image, for example, and let's say that we just want it to be super saturated. I'm just gonna bring it up here, and now we have this ultra strong sunset. And next up you would have the curves and the color wheels, which are for more advanced color graders. These ones really give fine control over the colors on the shadows, highlights, midtones, everywhere. But you should definitely only use them if you really know what you're doing. As a second example, we got this drone shot over here, and this is shot in a log format. As you can see, it's a very grayish and desaturated image that allows for a better color grading and correction in post-production. So what I'm going to do here is add a LUT on top of this footage so that we can convert it back to a normal looking image and then begin to color correct and color grade it. And since I imported already one of my LUTs over here, you can see that it's selected. If I click, we can already see the preview, and if I click on Add to Track, it's gonna add like an adjustment layer that I can just drag to the end of it, and now this is gonna be applied to all my image. And just notice that this is completely different from clicking on the clip, going to adjustment, and adding the LUT over here. If I actually were to do it right now, I would add this LUT twice because it's inside the clip and also on top of it. So I'm not gonna do it. The way I recommend you to go about it is that if you have only one clip during the whole timeline, you can simply add it on the clip itself and that's fine. If you have more than one, it makes no sense for you to go clip after clip, adding the LUT inside the adjustments panel, instead of simply adding it one time over here and just dragging it over across the whole timeline. So let's say, for example, that I wanted to apply this LUT also to the first clip. I can just drag this over here and now it's applied to both of them. This is very exaggerated, but anyways, it's just to show you that you could do that if you wanted. And clicking on this adjustment layer over here, now you can see that also you have all the other controls over here. So let's say that in this case I want to add a little bit of magenta to take away the green cast. Let's make it a little bit warmer like this. I'm gonna pump a little bit of contrast in the image, reduce the highlights to recover a little bit on the top there, the mountains. Let's sharpen it just a little bit. And now it's looking pretty good. Now there's one last function that I want to show you here because it's very important, especially if you have a video with a person on it. And I'm gonna drag over it the LUT that we used before for the drone. And it's not meant for that, so it's gonna do a lot of damage to the image. But anyways, that's exactly what I wanna show you. In this case, the layer is affecting the whole image, including the skin, which looks totally off. But Capcut offers this small button over here, which is the skin tone protection, which is meant to make the skin tone a little bit more natural. So you could still apply the LUT and it's gonna be applied to all the image except to the skin itself. So still, if I enable and disable the track here, you can see that the LUT is affecting the whole image. It's giving it a little bit more punch, a little bit more contrast, even a little bit too much, but the skin is not going crazy like it was before. So if you're adding a LUT to an image that has a person, be sure that it's not affecting the skin tones way too much, or try this feature to try to save it. In this case here, a good mix would be to put the strength of the LUT at 50% and have the skin tone protection on. Alright, so now you know everything you need to edit a very complex video from scratch on your own. But I'm not gonna leave you alone, so we are gonna edit a complete video together. Finally, this is the lesson where we grab everything you've learned so far and apply it into one single video. The idea is to edit a short video talking about Capcut Desktop, and I highly encourage you to go to the resources section and download all of the files you can find over there. This video is going to talk about 5 reasons why you should use Capcut for desktop. So you're going to find 6 different videos of me talking to the camera. The intro and outro are in the same file, and then the 5 reasons split into 5 different clips, and 5 other clips that are going to be the B-roll to complement everything that I'm saying to the camera. And now it's up to you to decide if you want to edit alongside me here doing the same things, or if you want to learn how to do it and then apply your own vision to this video later on. Alright, let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to create a new project over here. First thing we're going to do is come to modify up here on the right, and we're going to be sure to give this a name. So I'm just going to give Capcut example video. I'm just keeping it in its original place. Ratio, we're going to do it vertical, so you can choose 9:16. Resolution is adapted. Let's change it to customized and be sure that we have it at 1080 by 1920, meaning full HD vertical. The frame rate has to be 25 because of the footage I'm providing you, and the color space has to be SDR Rec 709. If all these are good, save and we can begin. Alright, it's time to bring in all our videos, and I have them all in this folder here. I'm just gonna drag and drop them, and now we have all of our files inside here. And if you click them here on the media panel, you're gonna be able to see the preview and understand what they are. So you have the 6 talking head videos over here, and you have 5 of the B-roll videos. So the first thing you're gonna cut is the intro and outro. So you can find main shot, intro and outro, and drag it to the timeline over here. Okay, so be sure to click on the clip, come here to the panel and change it to -90 on the rotate. It's gonna have the right orientation now, and just grab here one of the handles and let it snap to the corner, and perfect. Now always when recording there's gonna be mistakes and you're gonna try new takes on saying something a little bit differently, and that's the case for this video over here, where you're gonna see that I repeat the same sentence. Fifth is the best, fifth is the best, the fifth one is the best. 3 times. We have to keep only one, of course. The other ones I've trimmed already to make it a little bit easier for you. So let's listen it from the beginning. So come here, let me tell you not one, but 5 reasons why you should be editing with Capcut for desktop. 5th is the best. So the way that I prefer to cut this kind of videos is seeing very clearly the waveform so that I can know when there was a pause and when I was actually talking. And to do that with Capcut, with this small waveform here, it's very difficult for me. So I prefer to right click and go to separate audio. Now it's very clear where do we have to cut. And the first part is this one. So come here, let me tell you not one, but 5 reasons why you should be editing with Capcut for desktop. This first part is perfect, so we have to cut over here. There are 2 ways of doing it. You can press B and come here and cut both audio and video, and now we have 2 different parts of the same video and audio. Or I can just Ctrl Z, go back, and I can just put the cursor here, the playhead here, and go with Ctrl Shift B, and then it's gonna cut both of them the same way, cuts audio and video at the same time. Now for the second part, we just have to keep one of the takes. I'm gonna keep the last one, but you can choose which one you prefer. So I'm just gonna come up here very close when I'm talking, Ctrl Shift B again, select both of these, backspace to delete, and it's gone. And now I can zoom in a little bit using Ctrl and scroll up. And now here by the end of the sentence, we can do just the same. Ctrl Shift B, select them, delete, and that's it. Now this video is gonna have a loop, meaning that the last sentence of the video is gonna take us to the first one. So when this video plays on social, you don't even realize when it finished and it's starting again. And my idea here is to have it starting exactly when I say 5 reasons. So it's gonna be this break here. 5 reasons, but 5 reasons. So I'm just gonna cut the video over here, and this is gonna be the start. 5 reasons why you should be editing with Capcut for desktop. The 5th one is the best. Okay, so this is all the start of the video, and this part here is actually gonna be the ending. So I'm just gonna drag and drop it here by the end. So come here, let me tell you not one, but 5. So all this part, so come here is gonna be the last part of the video. And you probably noticed that when I dragged this, it just snapped back onto the timeline. And this is because we have this active over here, the main track magnet. And for now, I'm going to turn this off so that I can give it some space here, since this is going to be by the end. So it's clear for us what's the part that have to be by the end and which parts have to be in the beginning. Okay, so intro is done, outro is done. Let's go to the first reason. All right, let's drag this into the timeline. And now we have this. Let me separate the audio again. Let's hear it. Super easy video control, animations, positioning, zooming, using sliders or directly on the preview. Okay, so now you probably noticed 2 different things. The first one is that we have to do the same adjustment that we did in the first video, meaning spinning it around. So I'll just do the -90, and I'm gonna drag here and let it snap to the corner. And you notice that there's a bunch of background noise, using sliders or directly on the preview. You know, the original was not like that, but I wanted to apply what you've learned so far. So to save this audio, what you can do is click here on the audio part, come here to the panel, and you can use the noise reduction to make it sound a little bit better. Super easy video control, animations, positioning, zooming, and now this is without. Video control, animations, positioning, zooming, so it's much better with. It's still not perfect, but it's much better. So let's cut this video over here, Ctrl Shift B. Now whenever you drag something on the timeline, you're gonna see this line pop up when you're exactly at the border with another clip. So if you leave it here, they're just gonna be perfectly together. Super easy video control, animations, positioning, zooming, using sliders or directly on the preview. Perfect. So this is the second part. Let's just snap it here to the beginning, and we got the second part ready. And just remembering, when you want to be sure that you're at the end of a clip, you can press up and down to navigate the start or the ending of any clip on the timeline. Alright, reason number 2 on the timeline right now. Let's do the same, separate audio, and we can listen. Super easy to cut, reposition, change, all organized by type of media in layers. Okay, this one is perfect already. Let's just snap it in here. Let's take the reason number 3. And whenever you're in doubt if you added something already or not, remember that you're gonna see edit applied here on the media library. Separate audio. Transitions are super fast to use in preview. Let's go with the reason number 4. And now we have reason number 5. Which takes us to the 5th reason. It is completely free. Alright, so this is the end of the timeline. I'm gonna press O to set the out point over here. And I'm just gonna zoom out. And I'm gonna press I in the beginning to be sure that here's the in point. So whenever we export, we are gonna export everything that is in between, the in and the out points. Okay, so now let's be sure that all of the clips are turned correctly. This one is not. Let's repeat this for the other ones. And for this last clip, I want to do some keyframing to zoom in and out. And to do that, I'm just going to click on the video so that the properties appear up here. I'm going to be sure to be in the beginning of the shot around here. And I'm going to set some keyframes. In this case, I just want some scale keyframes, so I'm going to add one over here. Let's see. Okay, come here. So I want these now to be scaled up a little bit, like this. And it automatically sets another keyframe when you change one of the parameters. And I'm going to leave it for a while. And here I'm going to set another keyframe. And here I'm going to set it back to 177, which was the initial value. So now we should have a zoom in and a zoom out. Come here, let me tell you not one, but perfect. And when you click the video over here on the timeline, you can see where are the keyframes also. So you can have a better understanding of until when the movement is going to happen and when it's going to come back. So you can watch here to see that it goes here and then goes back. All right, once this is done, now it's time for us to bring in all the B-roll. And they are named B-roll reason 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's bring in reason number 1 over here. And I'm just going to position it on a higher layer so that it can cover the screen when I'm talking. Okay, so here is where the first reason ends and here is where it begins. So we have this amount of time to show something on the screen. Let's see what we have here on this. And here, as you can see on the preview, I'm just going over the properties panel, clicking on some things and then redimensioning some stuff on the preview itself. So let's say that definitely I want some of these clicks over here. So we can start the video here by cutting using the timeline controls. Let's go until there where I begin to move the mouse. I'm going to use B and just cut the video over here. Okay, now we have a second video. We have them separately. And I'm going to bring me up to where I start to play with the footage there until we're here. Okay. So this is the amount of B-roll that I want to use. So as you can see, it's impossible to fit both of these clips on top of the talking head videos. So what we're going to have to do here is to retime the speed of the B-roll so that we can show it a little bit faster on the screen. And to do that, there are two different ways. The first one is coming up to speed over here in the properties and just playing with how many times faster you want it to be. And you're going to be seeing on the timeline also that now it's much smaller. But it can be difficult to time it perfectly doing like this. So what I prefer to do is to just leave it at 1x. And when you clicked on speed, it changed also how it looks here on the timeline. So now when you grab the mouse and you come up to here, you can actually drag it and it's going to automatically change also on the slider up there. So you can just make it time perfectly until where you want it to go. So I'm going to leave this part of the B-roll like this and I'm going to bring on the second one and I'm going to do the same to make it finish about here so that I can still see myself talking about it when it's over. Let's see. Super easy video control, animations, positioning, zooming, using sliders or directly on the preview. Okay, perfect. Now we just have to resize the B-roll so that it covers the screen as you want it. I'm gonna make it bigger. And for this, I always like to use the preview controls because it just makes it so much faster to reposition and resize and do whatever you want. So it's just dragging and dropping and making it snap to the corners and we're good to go. Control, animations, positioning, zooming. And for this one, I'm just going to make it bigger so that the preview panel is as big as possible here on the screen. Yes, like this looks good. Zooming, using sliders or directly on the preview. Timeline. Okay, perfect. So basically now what you're going to do is select the parts that interest you the most in the B-roll for parts 2, 3, 4, and 5 and overlay them on top of the talking head videos on the timeline here. I'm going to do it now, so let's just make it faster. Now we're here on reason 5 and this one I want to do something a little bit different than the others. Instead of just putting them on the timeline covering my talking head video, I want to put this one here and I want to show two different parts of the same B-roll. So I want to show the preview and I also want to show what I'm changing on the parameters. And to do that, I can simply come here, select the video and put it on the right place that I want it, Ctrl C and Ctrl V to have a second version of the exact same video on top. I'm going to place them on two different layers. And I'm going to position one of them a little bit to the left. So I'm going to put maybe the parameters here on the left. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, right about here more or less, showing until the middle of the screen. And the one behind, I'm just going to put like this and I'm going to show the preview panel over here. So when I play this now, there are some pro features, but they're more advanced and most people won't need it. you're gonna be able to see both of them. But I didn't get the right parts because it's only after here where I actually start changing a little bit of the colors, and that's the interesting part to see. So yeah, it was exactly here. So I'm just gonna cut it back, cut this one until the same point, bring both backwards here. Let's see now. There are some pro features, but they're more advanced and most people won't need it. All right, perfect like that. One more idea, one more thing to change. I want one of the reasons in the middle for my face to be appearing above the B-roll, but in a different way. Either a cutout, green screen effect, or maybe masking it, as we learned in the previous lessons. Let's try all of them and see which one works best here. So let's say that I want it over one of these reasons here, which is reason number 3, for example. So to have it on top, I'm gonna need to get this video, which is the talking head video, and create a copy. So I'm just gonna go Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. Now we have 2 of them. And if I place it on top here, now you don't see the B-roll anymore, you are seeing the talking head again. So let's see if it's gonna work. Let's come out here to cutout. Let's click auto cutout and see what Capcut is gonna manage to do here. And looks like it's not doing a very good job. The shirt is too mixed with the background, so it disappeared many times, and we don't have much control over it, so this is not gonna work. I'm just gonna uncheck this function. So the only solution here is really to use a mask. And to do that, I'm gonna come up to mask over here, and let's do maybe a circle one. And like this, it creates a hole here that we can only see part of the footage that was behind. I'm gonna leave it around like this, gonna reposition it. Let's make it maybe oval like this and add a little bit of feathering. Okay, that looks about right. And if you go now back to basic, you can move this video all around. And I'm gonna leave it about here is okay. So let's see how it looks. Okay, that doesn't make much sense to begin over there. So I'll press up to begin in the beginning of the clip here. And I'm gonna cut it to start exactly in the same time where the B-roll begins. Transitions are super fast to use in preview. Okay, that looks good, but there's a cut here in the talking head video that I don't like to make it show. So I'm just going to cut also this. And this second part here, I'm going to move to another place on the screen. Let's see. Transitions are super fast to use in preview. And there are infinite options. Okay, and now I'm gonna cut just to the beginning of the audio here. So let's make it about here. And I'll cut also the B-roll for them both to match together. Okay, now I just want to cut a little bit of this blank space here in the middle. So I'm just gonna go Ctrl+Shift+B so that it cuts everything that is in the timeline. And here, where is exactly where the audio from the first one ends, let's zoom in a little bit. And let's select all of these and delete. Now, extra trick. If you want to make everything snap back here, there are 2 solutions. The first one is if you come up here and you select everything rightwards, you drag everything, you come back to the cursor with A, and you just drag it all until it snaps. Or one other thing you can do is just come back here and reactivate the main track magnet so that there are no gaps in the middle of the video. The moment I activate it, boom, everything snaps back. So it's an easier way for you to fix these small gaps when everything is aligned. You just created the space in between the clips. I'm gonna deactivate it again. Okay, so I think that for A-roll and B-roll, we're good here. Let's spice this edit up a little bit. Now, whenever you open the effects tab, it can be so overwhelming because there are so many options around here. So what I can recommend you is to, when you do a first project, is to go through the effects tab, take a look at everything and just save them by clicking on the star that you find whenever you hover the mouse over them. So when you click it, they're gonna appear always on the top here. So for example, I really like the camera shake. I put a star on it, it's always here. Because if every single time you're gonna go through all of the effects to try to find the right one for your videos, you're gonna lose a lot of time. Okay, so let's add this one here, a little bit of camera shake, and I wanna add also a body effect. And for that, I really like this electrical scanning. I'm gonna save it as my favorite also, and I'm gonna add it here onto the timeline. So now let's see how it looks. 5 reasons why you should be editing. Okay, looks pretty good. We're gonna adjust a couple of things, and you can see that they affect everything below as soon as the layer exists here. So this effect is gonna go through until this part here. We don't need it that much, so let's make it a little bit smaller. So first of all, let's adjust the electro-optical scanning effect. Okay, this looks pretty good. I want the camera shake to start just a little after this first effect hits. So maybe here, for example. And let's make it shorter a little bit, both of them. Let's see how this looks. 5 reasons why you should be editing. Okay, maybe a little bit before. 5 reasons why you should be editing with. Okay, and I'm gonna finish the camera shake a little bit before, also make it a little bit faster. Perfect, that looks really cool for the intro. Now, in between the different reasons on this video, I want to have some sort of transition, not to have just a direct cut in between them. So you can place the playhead exactly where there's a cut in between two different shots, come up to transitions, and just choose the one you prefer. So here I'm gonna choose one of the trending ones. The pull in is usually very nice. And now it adds it here to the timeline, but not as a layer. It adds it exactly in between the two different shots. And in the timeline, you can also adjust how long is it going to be. A very short or a bit longer transition. And also you can adjust it on the slider up here on the right. Let's see how this looks. One is the best. It's way too fast. Let's make it a little bit longer. Okay, that looks pretty cool. So I'm just gonna do exactly the same for all of the other transitions in between the different reasons. I'm just gonna get here, plus. All right, perfect. So we have a transition over all the reasons. Now we're gonna do captions, but I want the first few sentences to be in a proper title. And for that, we're gonna come up to text, and I wanna go to text template. This has different templates that are already animated, and it can look very cool for the start of the video. I really like this one, so I'm gonna add a star, and I'm gonna grab it and add it to the timeline here. 5 reasons why you should be editing with... Okay, so it looks pretty good. Let's click on it, and up here on the right, we can change whatever we want. So I'm just gonna write here 5 reasons, and below I wanna change it to Capcut desktop. Scale looks good. Okay, I'm just not a big fan that the text is here in the middle of the screen in front of my face, so I'm just gonna drag it down a little bit. Let's see. Reasons why you should be editing with Capcut for desktop. All right, looks pretty good. And one thing that is gonna happen to you when you're editing is that you're gonna realize small adjustments that you can do when you're doing other stuff. Like here, for example, in which I think the cut from this first sentence to the second one is a bit too harsh without anything in the middle. So what I wanna do is I'm gonna click in the second video here, and I'm just gonna change a little bit of the zoom by clicking on the preview properly. So it almost looks like it's a camera change, but not really. Capcut for desktop. The 5th one is the best. All right, looks much better this way. Okay, time to do the captions, so let's come here to auto captions. Let's choose English Create. Okay, once it's done, let's come up here to captions, and we can check if it recognizes all the speech correctly, and also change how long they're gonna be. So the first sentence, actually, I'm not gonna use because I already have the title here in place. So I'm just going to delete it by clicking here, and we're going to begin with the captions on the 5th one is the best. It's enough for me. And I'm going to try to make them as short as possible. So I'm going to cut it on the 5th one is the best, super easy, video control. And I'm just going to keep pressing enter and making another line every time there are 2 or 3 words. So let's go through it. And whenever you make a mistake and you want to go back, you can Ctrl Z, or you can select a line and press backspace so that it joins back with the upper line. All right, done. So now it's time to edit the captions as we want it. So I'm just going to click on the first one, go to text, be sure that apply to all is here clicked, and I'm just going to adopt a style that can be easy to read in front of all these colors. So I'm going to choose another font. One thing that I like to do is increase the size of the background so that the text is not too tight inside here. So I'm going to change 50 to 55, also the width to 55, so that now we have a little bit more space over there. Also the positioning, I like to put it a little bit higher, like -850, because of the on-screen text on Instagram, TikTok. This way you're sure that the subtitle is going to appear above all of that. Let's take a look. The 5th one is the best. Super easy video control, animations, positioning, zooming. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Now stickers. There's place for one sticker here that I want to add, which is something related to money when I say that it's completely free. Let's just scroll through and try to find something that is related, like this emoji here, for example, that we can favorite and immediately add it to the timeline. Okay, let's make it as long as that subtitle, and I'm going to reposition it and make it just a little bit smaller. It doesn't need to be that big, around here. Let's see, it is completely free. Okay, looks pretty good. All right, we're almost there. Just gonna add some music and some sound effects. Okay, so first sound effects we're gonna add are for the beginning here. And I've sifted through the sound effects already, and I found a couple of them that can work very well for this. And the catch here is, sometimes you don't need to find something that is specifically about what you're seeing. Like in this case, for example, we see some electricity, but I found a sound effect of a dagger that sounds really cool for this. This one. Okay, let's add it to the timeline. And it's going to create another layer just for that. So let's put it here where the electrical effect begins. Reasons why you should be editing. All right, sounds very cool. You can lower the volume if you want by using the bar here, or the volume here on the parameters tab. Okay, this first part is good. Now I want to add some sound effects for the transitions. And for that, there's a sound effect called whoosh that usually works very well for this kind of stuff. I think the first one was enough. All right, let's save it. So I'm just gonna do the same for all the other transitions. I'm gonna click on the transition or as it begins, and I'm just gonna add the whoosh in all of them. And now we have something like this. The fifth one is the best. Super easy video. Looks pretty cool. All right, we're almost done. Let's try to find some music for this. And here we can try to find something cool around the vlog area. Let's see what we have. Okay, I like this one. And here where you try to find a good song for your video. You can also go saving by clicking on the star and doing the same as you did with the stickers or with the text, everything. It's just gonna keep the ones that you like on the top here. I'm just gonna add it and it's gonna add where the playhead is. So let's move it to the right place and it's not finishing together with the song. So we can use B and just cut it exactly here and delete the rest. Now let's hear it. It's probably going to be too loud. Reasons why you should be editing with Capcut for that. Exactly. So let's make it lower by lowering the volume bar over here. And usually if you're below 25 to 30 dB, it's going to be okay for you to listen the voice also. Reasons why you should be editing with Capcut for desktop. The fifth one is the best. Super easy video control, animations. And by using the slider over here, you have a little bit more fine control than instead of just using the volume bar down here. All right, I really like this choice. Let's go to the final step, which is adding a little bit of color to the video. And as you saw in the color grading lesson, there are two ways of doing it. The first one is just clicking on the clip itself and changing the colors in the adjustment panel over here. Or you can come to the adjustments here on the left and just add a custom adjustment. And this is going to create this adjustment layer that we can bring over here to the beginning and stretch it out until the end and use one of the videos as an example to how it's gonna look in the end. So let's say this one, for example, and I'm just gonna bring in a little bit more contrast. I'm gonna lower the highlights a little bit so that the lights in the back don't call that much attention. I'm gonna bring up the shadows just a tiny bit and maybe add just a little bit of vignetting. If you go to the left, you add white. If you go to the right, you add a little bit of black. Just a tiny touch like this. And I think all the rest looks pretty cool. I'm not gonna change anything else. And this is with and without. Very subtle change, gives an extra touch. All right, if you're ready, let's watch the final version. 5 reasons why you should be editing with Capcut for desktop. The fifth one is the best. Super easy video control, animations, positioning, zooming, using sliders or directly on the preview. Timeline control, you see everything you got. Super easy to cut, reposition, change. All organized by type of media in layers. Effects and transitions are super fast to use in preview, and there are infinite options. Stabilization, noise reduction, proxies, all fancy features from pro expensive software. Which takes us to the fifth reason, it is completely free. There are some pro features, but they are more advanced and most people won't need it. So come here, let me tell you not one, but 5 reasons why you should be editing with Capcut for desktop. And that's it. I hope you liked that. I can't wait to see what you create also with these videos or on your own. And in the next lesson, we're going to learn how to export this video or any other using Capcut, so that you have a final product in your hands to be able to share. So your video is edited and ready to be exported. And to do it, there are 2 main things you have to do. The first one is coming up to the timeline and being sure that everything finishes together. So let's zoom in by the end here so that we can have a little bit of a better look. And you're gonna see that the adjustment layer doesn't finish together with the video. So we're gonna drag it up here to be sure it's gonna snap it there. And also the song is going over the video. So let's just drag it here. And now we have everything matching together. Let's zoom out to see all of the timeline. And now before exporting, you're gonna press O on the keyboard to set the out point. And here in the beginning, I to set the in point. If you don't do it, Capcut is just going to consider that the whole timeline is what you wanna export. But just to be sure, it's better to do it. Then to export, all you need to do is to come up here to the right and there's the export button. It's gonna open this dialog box in which you have all the options that you're gonna need. First of all, there's the title, Capcut example. On export to, you're gonna find the folder where you want the video to be placed. And first you have to check video exporting. This is gonna be sure that the video part of the video is actually exported. The resolution is exactly what it says. You can choose up to 4K. Now bitrate is gonna dictate how good is the quality of the exported video. You can choose one of the presets, lower, recommended, or higher, or just go customize depending if you know the bitrate of your original footage. If you don't know, I would totally suggest you to put higher and just leave it as it is. Now codec is going to be a little bit different if you're using Windows or Mac, but H.264 is going to be available on both of them and is one of the most used codecs, so you're going to be sure that it's going to work anywhere. The other ones are more compressed codecs. They save a little bit of space, still good quality, but they're not going to be compatible everywhere. So to be sure, I would recommend you to use H.264 here. And if you want to be a little bit fancier, you can choose HEVC on Windows and Apple ProRes if you're on a Mac. The format, you can go with the standard MP4, especially if you're on Windows, but on Mac is going to leave you as MOV as default. The frame rate here is important that you match exactly what you had as the timeline. And right there in the first lessons about the timeline, we set this up, so I would just suggest you to keep exactly the same. If you put 30 frames per second back then, put here also. Export audio, if checked, is going to export the audio of your timeline as a separate file. If you want that, you can keep it clicked. And here there's caption exporting also, but it's a pro feature. Okay, so you're ready to export, just click export over here, and it's going to tell you in the progress bar how it's going. And also the estimated size. And as soon as it's over, it's going to offer you to post directly to YouTube or TikTok over here. And you can open the folder and you're going to find all the files over there. If you choose to export also the audio, you're going to see that there's an MP3 file also in the folder. Otherwise, you're just going to see the video file like here that you can play, and that has the audio inside as it should. And that's about it. In the next lesson, we're just going to wrap it all up. Alright, congratulations, you're a pro social video editor now. You learned how to set up the timeline, add videos, audio, effects, text, captions, and much more. But most importantly, how to tell a story or teach something in a very short space of time while keeping the viewer entertained and engaged. Now don't forget to create your own version of the video we edited together, or even better, to create something of your own. I'm anxious to see what you come up with and upload to the project section. And always remember that for any doubts or questions, you can always use the discussions panel below, and I'm gonna help you along the way. Thanks once again for watching this class, and if you want to keep learning, check out the other classes I have in my profile about video production, photo and video editing. And if you want to see more of the content I create, you're gonna find all my social medias linked below. And that's all. Congratulations again, and I'll see you next time. Ciao!